Hello ladies and gentlemen, MarauderEX here with kind of a different video considering I bet you were expecting Mario RPG. So what I did is I did a ton of them in advance so that I could have one uploaded a day for E3 so I didn't miss a day. Well, I'm kind of out of those and I don't have the time right now to record some, so I'm going to do this little video kind of in its place. Speaking of E3, people have been asking me all throughout E3, what are your thoughts on the Sony conference? What were your thoughts on the Microsoft conference? What were your thoughts on it? People were asking me, what were you thinking as it was happening? Because I was online pretty much the entire time, and just, I had to focus on it because it was work. I was putting up trailer after trailer for Op Rainfall, and I was doing my best to make sure that I was paying as much attention as possible to make sure that I could get what needed to get up. And I gotta say, this year's E3, I did a little bit on the recap video, but I don't want to get too opinionated on the recaps. I just want those to be stories. So I leave the opinions more for my channel, even though I'm going to start doing a little more opinions on Rainfall. But, you know, clean, cut, edited, not as vulgar as I can be. So, just to be completely blunt, I was not impressed by E3 as a whole this year. And mostly because I was expecting so much more. So, I have a Wii U. And up until Mario Kart 8, it got zero use. Like, none. Culex got me Earthbound. I played that for a little bit, but most of the time, if I'm going to play a console, I'm playing a console for something specific. I spend a lot of time on my 360 playing Final Fantasy XI. I spend a lot of time on my original Xbox with the emulators that have been added to it for recording purposes. And then I spend a lot of time on my PS3 because I picked up Lego Marvel Superheroes. And that's what I've been playing a lot. And if it's a console game, that's it. And there's a bunch of other games that I'm looking to pick up. I need to pick up Child of Light. I have the demo for it. It's amazing, but I need to actually buy the game, and I'm going to buy it on my PS3. I'm going to, you know, I have a copy of Dust and Elysian Tale that I've got on my 360 that I need to finish. But the Wii U didn't have any. Like, I'm waiting for Pure Solar to get the actual HD version because, again, I've backed the Dreamcast Collector's Edition, but the Wii U got nothing, and I was expecting Nintendo to really step it up more than they did. I mean, I'll get into this in a second, but you have two brand new consoles that have been out for less than a year, and they had a fairly less than stellar launch. Not gonna lie, the biggest point in favor that the Wii U had is it had a few more games than the Xbox One and the PS4. Not graphics, not anything else like it. It had a few more, so it had a slightly larger library, so there was more likelihood of you finding something that wasn't crap. Whereas the launch titles for the 1 and the 4 were slim. It reminded me of the days of the launch of the N64. You had like 2 games at the US launch. You had Super Mario 64, I think it was Pilot Wings, and that was it. I mean, granted, Super Mario 64 was pretty much all you needed for a while until the game started coming out, but it was still one of those pickings were slim. And if the only thing your console has in its favor is that you have just a few more games, that's not saying much in the long run. And that was really what I was expecting from all three. I really had high hopes that all three were going to be like, games. Games, 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 games. Because we done screwed up. And that didn't happen. And it happened more in Nintendo's case, I feel, than anyone else's. There was an infographic that I saw talking about the exclusive titles and what was shown of each. Was it a trailer? Was it gameplay? Was it playable at E3? And Nintendo had like twice as many in every category as everyone else because they had all of these things that half of them were playable. You saw more than just a trailer. You saw actual gameplay. So it was one of those, well, you know, Nintendo did kind of smack it out of the park. And the fact that they did the Treehouse events kind of impressed me because all throughout E3 I could see actual hands-on as people were sitting here playing it, and I didn't see that publicized nearly as much with Sony and Microsoft, mostly because I don't think half of the games that they showed at their press conference have gameplay. Phantom Dust didn't have gameplay. The Scalebound did not have, like, I saw both of those, I'm like, I'm really interested in these, when they're not going to be movies. Like, I know it's proof of concept, but proof of concept of what? Phantom Dust, I know what Phantom Dust is. It's, at least I know what the Xbox version is, but I don't know what this one is. It was just a guy on a bench who looked like he was, you know, from The Cure, and suddenly he has glowing aura of death, and there's a girl with glowing aura of death coming at him, and the world vanishes. And that's not gameplay, that's a CGI trailer. Like, that's me watching How to Train Your Dragon. It's not playing a game. Really showing me how a game is meant to be played. So, when people ask me how I felt, like, okay, the Microsoft and Sony, they were okay. Microsoft was a little underwhelming, mostly because I don't care about Halo. I've never cared about Halo. I cared about Halo for like 5 minutes when it was first announced, and it was originally going to be a PC title. And that was because a friend of mine was just all hyped up over it that I couldn't get him talking about anything else. Cat. But I don't care. I do not care about Master Chief in the least bit. And Sony, I was expecting more from. Like, when they announced the console, they were sitting here talking about, well, we've got Kingdom Hearts 2, or Kingdom Hearts 3, and Kingdom Hearts 2.5, and Sony was like, we don't have either of those this year, because Square Enix doesn't have either of those this year. Come on. Yeah, you're going to help me finish this. So, my wife asked me, because she didn't get to watch it live. She heard about it after the fact, because, you know, she has a real job, whereas I do this sort of thing. And was asking, well, what did you think? It's like, who do you think won E3 was her specific question. Like, well, if I have to assign that, it would be Nintendo, because I saw more of their stuff. The only downside is I put an addendum to that the only reason why I feel they won is because I grew up with Nintendo. So it's like, I know these franchises. It's like, okay, so the Star Fox game that was mentioned, Xenoblade, obviously, and things like that. It's like, okay, I know these franchises. I know what they're... But if I was a younger gamer, if I was someone who did not grow up in the SNES era, or the N64 era, or even the GameCube era, and I'm one of the newer, younger target demographic, I would see how Nintendo looked a little hokey and a little, you know, that's a little too bright and cheery and kiddie for my taste. But it did seem like kind of a breath of fresh air compared to all of the console-based first-person shooters. Or third-person shooters, or like Halo and The Order. The Order actually looked kind of entertaining for a while. I was not impressed by the trailer that they showed this year. And one thing I will say, I am more intrigued by The Division now than I was last year. When they showed it off last year, I was not impressed with it at all. But this year, after seeing the story cutscene, or the story intro, I believe, and some of the gameplay that probably will never happen in real life, I got a little more intrigued by it. So that might actually be something I would consider picking up at a later date. But everything else, no. I was really excited about Mortal Kombat X when they announced it, because you have this really awesome trailer of Scorpion kicking the crap out of Sub-Zero, and then they start showing off more, and they show off they're doing it chronologically, that no one cares. No one cares. I do not care that Sonya Blade and Johnny Cage had a daughter. I would rather play as either Sonya Blade or Johnny Cage. I don't want to play as their hybrid daughter. Or the bee lady. I don't even know what to begin with that. Like, That was Mortal Kombat. That wasn't Killer Instinct, right? That was Mortal Kombat. I'm not confusing the two fighting games. I may be. So if I am, let me know, because I saw Bee Lady and I just instantly shut down. Like, no. Bug Bee Lady, no. No. They did that once in Darkstalkers, and I was just not impressed. And, no. And there was another game that actually kind of intrigued me. No Man's Sky, procedurally generated. If they do half of the things that they were BSing about at E3, it'll be impressive, because procedurally generated worlds are impressive to me. I've been a big fan of Terraria. I've been a big fan of Starbound, because, you know, procedurally generated, it's a different world each time. It's a slightly different experience. It makes you think differently as you play it. But this being 3D, this being, you know, the universe, and some of these procedurally generated worlds interact with other game players in terms of multiplayer, instead of having to go to someone else's procedurally generated world, like in Terraria. It's like, oh, it's my world, and my friends can come in it, but it's if they start a world, the two worlds aren't connected. They're just separate. It's like parallel dimensions. But this one is, if I start one, and let's say Kulik starts one, there's a possibility that these two worlds are connected. We could try to find each other. If just one of us goes west and one of us goes east, that might happen. So I'm impressed with that, but it seems a little Fable-y to me. Just all of the promises each time a Fable game came out. Oh, you can do this with your Fable character. You can do that. You could bake bread and be a baker, and no one cares about the story because you're a baker. No, none of that ever happened. None of that. This is basically a second life that you could do. Never came to fruition. The amount of stuff that they BS'd about in that game is astronomical to this day. And I'm hoping that that's not the case. I'm hoping that these guys, being an indie game that got the spotlight for a few minutes, they're not BSing. They're like, this is what we're aiming to do. Hopefully it something they can follow up on. You know, because it'd suck if, oh, well, we couldn't do that. We just couldn't get it to work. That's disappointing, guys. That's disappointing. But yeah, I have to say I was more impressed with the Nintendo. If discounting the nostalgia factor of feeling that Nintendo's games did better, and the fact that they weren't first and third person shooters. I mean, Xenoblade kind of could be a third person shooter, considering you've got but it's a third person shooter in the way that Borderlands is a first person shooter. It's got more RPG in it than, you know, most other games I've played recently. But if you discount the nostalgia and the fact that the aesthetics are all different, and Nintendo games are brighter, less blue and orange and gray, I'd say Sony kind of, because I just didn't feel like I was, you know, listening to 40 minutes of PR backpedal with them. Microsoft still has that aura of, let's dig ourselves out of this hole, and it just kind of put a bad taste in my mouth for theirs. I was just not impressed by anything, really, that they did. And I've come to hate Ubisoft more than I could possibly imagine at the moment. Putting up trailers is advertisement. You want your trailer to get out as many places as possible, especially here on YouTube. If I'm not monetizing it, I'm monetizing this video. I'm making money off of my opinion. But a trailer, it's not my opinion. It's just an advertisement. I don't need to make money off of someone else's. I mean, you could argue, because people pay for commercial space on television. Why don't they pay me for the commercial space on my channel? But that's a topic for another time. But no monetization on trailers, because just getting the word out there. And got flagged. Because fucking Ubisoft. And put a little bit of a damper on the Rainfall channel. Pissed me off to no extent. So much so that I actually emailed them to find out what their stance is. And they actually have, is right after YouTube changed its Content ID policies at the beginning of this year, they issued a statement saying, oh, we love Let's Players, go ahead and do this. Just don't, take the game and the audio and separate them, or don't put things behind a paywall, anything like that. Well, you can monetize. It's fine. So I can monetize me talking over a game, but I can't even upload a trailer promoting your game without it getting flagged. Fuck Ubisoft. Really? So that basically put me in a position of I don't give two shits about Ubisoft anymore. I will not support them. Like I'm still kind of bitter about the Sega thing. I haven't bought a Sega thing ever since the Shining series debacle that, you know, pissed me off 2 years ago. Which sucks because I really want to play Sonic All-Stars Racing Transformed. Not gonna happen. And it's sad because, you know, Assassin's Creed Unity looked fun. And now I'm not gonna buy it because, yeah. That was uncalled for. I apologize for that. But seriously, if anyone from Ubisoft is watching, message me because your policy is stupid. If you're gonna make that policy where you can do that, don't upload shit to Content ID so that it gets flagged. God, how stupid are you people? Other than that, E3 was a bunch of sports, or EA was a bunch of sports, rather, that I could care less about. They had, you know, model of Bruce Lee in MMA, because if Bruce Lee were alive today, he would endorse the MMA. I don't really think he would. I don't see that happening. He was not, you know, a person who seemed to, you know, like combat for combat's sake, and that's mostly what, you know, televised fighting events are. Didn't seem like I don't see him being a like you'd be like, yeah, okay, no, I'm not going to endorse it, but you go and do your thing. And then, you know, Tiger Woods Battlefield 5, where I can shoot golf balls out of a AK and hopefully get a hole-in-one. I don't know. I don't know. E3 was weird. I was expecting so much more because everyone had so much to prove, and it just wasn't a thing. It didn't materialize as much. I really expected a lot more exclusives. I expected a lot more gameplay of exclusives because you know you need to have games on your consoles, and that was for Microsoft and Sony. And I fully expected Nintendo to be like, okay, so Mario Kart 8 was really popular. We're going to shove all of the stuff out as fast as we can to make sure you don't have software droughts like we did with the N64. Because that's what happened. Like, no one wanted to deal with cartridges anymore, so you had fewer and fewer third parties, and mostly you were sustained by first parties. And I'm kind of scared that's what's going to happen with the Wii U. So I kind of expected them to be like, you know, we're gonna throw this out there, and what they did is they delayed Smash Brothers for the DS, because that was supposed to come out summer. That was originally supposed to come out like August, July, or like something kind of soon, I think, and they pushed it back to October. Which, you know, it's a good thing because, you know, there's less of a discrepancy between the two. Because I flat out said, if it comes out on the 3DS, like, why? It should come out on the Wii U first, because the Wii U needs a, you know, shot of adrenaline to keep it going, because, I mean, you can only ride the Mario Kart 8 bandwagon for so long before people are like, okay, let's start getting something else out. And if you release it on the 3DS first, there's just more likelihood of people who have 3DSs over Wii U's buying it and they're not caring. It's like, oh, well, I've got it on the 3DS, I don't need to get a Wii U or get it for the Wii U. Just, it seemed crazy to me. Crazy. So, but they pushed that back, so there's less of a gap, I guess, so that's good. I don't know. I don't understand Nintendo's marketing strategy. I don't understand anyone's marketing strategy. None of it makes sense to me. But that's been my take on E3. I want to know what you guys thought. What was your favorite game shown off? For me, I mean, Xenoblade kind of blew my mind. I was not expecting that much footage. Mario Maker looks like it's going to be really fun. You know, it's the official Kaizo hack. No Man's Sky, the Division, things that I'm kind of interested in now. So let me know what you saw and were interested in, and if you have any questions, like if you missed a bunch, like we have go check out the Rainfall channel. I'm just going to shamelessly plug that now. Go check it out because I uploaded, you know, over 50 trailers of games that are coming out between this year and next. And that's another thing that I was really disappointed with that I want to mention real quick. So many of these titles are 2015. Where's the crap coming out for holiday season 2014? It seemed like there was very slim pickings for that. So, like, if I wanted to wait until next year for a game, you could have just waited till E3 to tell me, oh, this is coming out, like, tomorrow. Don't say, oh, this is coming out next year. No, don't do that. It pisses me off. Anyway, like I was saying, let me know what you thought. Let me know what you saw that intrigued you, that you just kind of shook your head and went the fuck at. And what was your general, like, who do you think won E3? Whose press conference just kind of resonated with you? Because not just the games, it's how the games are presented to you. So did you like the fact that Nintendo didn't do a live conference and just streamed it to everyone like they were equal? Or does that reek of lazy and that they just don't care? Or did you prefer, you know, what's his face with the watch and the bracelet, who always remembers to eat breakfast? Go check out the Matt Lee's abridged stuff too. Please do that. He's a freaking genius when it comes to that. And you'll understand what I'm talking about with the Microsoft conference. Anyway, go comment. Let me know. Go check out stuff if you haven't seen it. It was a spectacle as always. So I will see you guys when I return to our regularly scheduled programming. Till then, later everyone.